Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of My Test Lab. So check this out. I've got some people like John Lund who's out there. Spartan Space is what he goes by. And so I wanted to show a little bit. I get questions like, how do you build custom Derby Owners Club? How do you build something that's a custom machine that's not Derby Owners Club? Well, the secret to it all, the secret sauce, is that you need to have a good test bench. So I have an Extreme L. I have two temporary tables that I use. And when I build something, like right now I'm building this, I don't have to, with Derby, I don't have to put down a base of wood. But I've done it in other videos where I recommend that because plastic does conduct electricity. But I'm pretty safe with this setup. So I'll just kind of break it down for you. This is cool. This is a main unit stack. Count the boards, you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was easy. I counted for you. And then I have 4 Sega Naomi 1s. And that's the minimum you need to build a Derby Owners Club 4-seat. Or Frankenstein 2-seater. So this is really cool. Let me show you what I did. I disconnected the card reader when the race started, so it can't write the race to the horse. See? I never whipped it. It can't write to it because it's not going to communicate with it. It'll probably kick out an error. We'll see here in a minute. But here's the cool part. So I've got the power, and when you build a test bench, a pro tip is put your power first where you want it. Don't nail it down or screw it down until you get the power where you want it. You might want to move that around. But build your power first, lay it out, then come back and do your comm. Fiber optic cables are almost impervious to just about any sort of interference you can imagine. So beyond this, what I have is a nice area for the card reader and the cable that's supposed to be plugged in. But as you can tell, I'm going to press the button. My favorite test horse is Tinkerbell. It says she has 29 races, but that didn't happen. So let's see what happens because I've got the card reader disconnected. Zynga. Now what? Moving right along. We'll come back to this and see what the error is. Not a black screen. But so basically, this is the JVS input-output board. Arcade games have an input-output board. This has actually been replaced by a guy named Bobby Dilly. He's got a PC emulation of the JVS board. This is a very extensive board. You may have heard of JAMMA, the Japanese Arcade Manufacturing Machine Association. There's our error. And JAMMA is similar to this, but it's not identical. So in my test bench, I need to be able to test JAMMA and JVS input-output. JVS is a proprietary input-output board developed by Sega that carries lights for buttons when you turn them on and off. And then it can also accept a large number of input buttons or analog steering wheels, gas pedals, you name it, whatever that is, throttles. They've got it all. Nuts to bolts. So now I have a separate power supply. I use a separate switching power supply to power my card reader right here. Any other card readers are powered by a separate switching power supply. If you tear apart the original Derby Owners Club and you go through and disassemble it, you'll find that 12 volts comes from a separate power supply that is not shielded, which is inside the satellites. Okay, moving right along. This is my service and test button, which is part of Derby. This is the control panel. However, I have something different over here. I have a JAMMA harness. Now, we talked about JVS. Now I'm going to talk about JAMMA. And this is JAMMA, so you can get right down onto this. Let's see if we can get it in focus. And it's telling you each pin that you want to have, what it is. Oh, look, this is a ground. This is 5 volts. This is 12 volts. See how that works? It's pretty cool. Let's put some light on there. There we go. All right. Maybe that was a fail. Since I don't edit my videos, I'm not worried about it. But as you can tell, it tells you each one and what it should be. So the red is +5 on JAMMA, and it's +12 on JAMMA as well, which is reversed from JVS. So on JVS, when you get over into these blocks, yellow is 5 and red is 12. So that's a big difference between JVS and JAMMA. So what I do is if I want to plug in, say, a board, I have this JAMMA control. I can work it at the same time, I can also use a different input-output board for Derby, which is JAMMA, or I can use the original JVS. The way I power all this is really important. As I mentioned, I build my power outlines first. Is that I use I bought this at Goodwill. I bought 2 of them. And so basically I use these, this used to be a docking station, and you would put your monitor on top of it, and then this would sit on the platform and your keyboard would roll underneath it. These were real popular in the late 90s. I don't think anybody even uses those anymore. I haven't seen one in 20 years. However, the power source is super cool. So if you look in the back, you have like a computer, a monitor, a printer, and then you have aux 1, 2, right? Well, check it out. So on this one, I've got a master power switch, and then I have up to 4 auxiliary power supplies. Plus, I have a computer and printer mode, which is how I power my monitors. So they don't come on unless there's a draw, which is really cool. Anyway, I wanted to show you, I have the JVS and the JAMMA. There's JAMMA, and then I have JVS, and it's really cool. I mean, this is, you know, when you build Derby, it can get kind of crazy with the wiring. But, you know, you get around it and you work through it. I like to use screw terminals. That's another little secret that I passed on to people. Screw terminals are great most of the time. But like, let's say you want to do something up here and you want to crimp into this wire because this connector is screwed up or broken. Probably don't solder that, even with a 25 watt. I would recommend a wire tap like this on here and then run it to a terminal block. And the reason I say that is that you can actually burn out the wire tightening inside of these original arcade power supplies from Sega if you solder against it. So, you know, it's just kind of one of those things that you got to know about. I'm going to end it with this. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. And check this out. So because I disconnected the card reader, it has frozen the game, which means I can look at Tinkerbell all night long to my heart's desire. Or, I'm sorry, that's not Tinkerbell. I got beat by Victory Fight. Anyway, it's a little late. Signing off. This is Ted. See ya.